It happened in the middle of a bright spring afternoon, beneath strings of colorful paper flowers and cheerful balloons, where dozens of fathers proudly waited in a decorated elementary school gymnasium with nervous smiles on their faces. Cameras flashed, teachers hurried from one corner to another, and little girls in sparkling dresses clutched tiny bouquets while searching the crowd for the one person they hoped would be there. It was supposed to be the happiest event of the school year. Instead, one quiet sentence from a 6-year-old girl stopped an entire room full of people. She stood near the wall, holding the edges of her pale blue dress with trembling fingers as tears quietly rolled down her cheeks. She looked toward a tall businessman who had only entered the school for a completely different reason and softly admitted that it was the father-daughter dance and she was all alone. Those few heartbreaking words reached deeper into his heart than any business deal, award, or success ever had. In that single moment, a decision made by one stranger would forever change 2 lives and remind everyone watching that sometimes family is not defined by blood, but by the courage to stand beside someone who has no one else. Before we continue this unforgettable journey, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who still believes in kindness, and subscribe to Kindness Hub. Every like and subscription helps us bring more inspiring stories of hope, compassion, and second chances to people around the world. The man standing near the entrance was named Alaric Rowan, a 44-year-old technology company founder whose name appeared regularly in business magazines but whose private life remained painfully empty. Years of building his company had earned him unimaginable wealth, respect, and influence, yet every evening he returned to a luxurious house that echoed with silence. His parents had passed away years before, his engagement had ended because he always chose work over relationships, and although thousands of employees admired him, there was no one waiting for him at home. That afternoon he had been invited to the school simply to donate new computers and science equipment for underprivileged students. He expected to deliver a short speech, shake a few hands, and leave within an hour. Instead, he noticed the little girl standing completely alone while every other child laughed beside a father, grandfather, uncle, or older brother. Her name was Maren Holloway. She had carefully braided her own hair that morning after watching a tutorial her teacher had shown her. Her tiny shoes had been polished until they shined, and the ribbon around her waist had been tied 3 different times because she desperately wanted everything to look perfect. Deep inside, she had still hoped that somehow her father would surprise her by walking through those doors that he never did. Maren's father had abandoned the family before she was even born. Her mother, Celeste, worked long hours cleaning office buildings during the daytime and delivering groceries in the evenings just to pay rent. She loved her daughter more than anything, but she simply could not leave work that afternoon without risking the only job keeping food on their table. She had apologized through tears before leaving home that morning, promising they would celebrate together later with homemade pancakes, but even 6-year-old hearts understand the difference between comforting words and the empty chair everyone else notices. Alaric watched quietly as the music began. One by one, fathers walked onto the dance floor, lifting their daughters into joyful spins. Laughter filled every corner of the gymnasium, but Maren remained frozen beside the wall, trying to smile so nobody would notice how badly her heart was breaking. When another child innocently asked where her father was, she lowered her eyes toward the floor and simply shrugged. The principal noticed Alaric watching the little girl. She gently explained Maren's situation and admitted that the teachers had tried to comfort her all morning, but nothing could replace the person she had hoped would arrive. Alaric listened without speaking. Something inside him stirred in a way he had not experienced in decades. He remembered being 8 years old after losing his own father unexpectedly. He remembered school events where everyone else had someone cheering while his mother worked double shifts to survive. He remembered pretending not to care. Without thinking about how it might appear, Alaric slowly walked across the gymnasium. Every step felt strangely heavy. He knelt until he was at eye level with Maren. She looked up, confused by the presence of the unfamiliar man wearing an expensive navy suit among children covered in glitter and ribbons. That he quietly asked if she would allow him to stand beside her for just one dance, only if she felt comfortable. There was no pressure in his voice, no pity in his expression, only genuine kindness. Maren hesitated for several long seconds. She searched his face carefully, almost as though trying to decide whether adults could really keep promises. Finally, she gave the smallest nod imaginable. As gentle piano music filled the room, Alaric offered his hand. The entire gymnasium seemed to pause, teachers stopped talking, parents lowered their phones, children looked toward the center of the floor. There, beneath bright afternoon sunlight pouring through the tall windows, one lonely little girl who believed everyone had forgotten her slowly stepped into the dance she thought she would never have. Alaric was not an experienced dancer. His movements were awkward and uncertain, but Marin didn't care. She smiled for the first time that day. Within moments she began laughing as he carefully spun her in tiny circles, making sure she never felt embarrassed or unsafe. Every child deserves at least one memory where they feel chosen, and that afternoon Alaric unknowingly gave Marin exactly that. By the time the song ended, even the teachers were wiping tears from their eyes. Several parents quietly applauded. None of them applauded because a wealthy CEO had danced with a child. They applauded because compassion had defeated loneliness. In front of everyone, unknown to Alaric, one parent had recorded the dance on a mobile phone. Before the afternoon was over, the short video had already begun spreading across social media with captions celebrating the mysterious businessman who refused to let a little girl spend the father-daughter dance alone. Alaric tried to leave quietly after finishing the school donation ceremony, but before he reached his car, someone called his name. Celeste had rushed from work the moment another parent contacted her about what had happened. Still wearing her cleaning uniform and exhausted from running several blocks under the warm afternoon sun, she apologized repeatedly for missing the event. Tears filled her eyes as she thanked the stranger who had given her daughter a memory she feared would always be replaced by heartbreak. Alaric insisted that no thanks were necessary. He admitted the dance had changed him just as much as it had changed Marin. For the first time in years, success no longer felt like the most important achievement in his life. They spoke only briefly before saying goodbye, yet neither realized that this unexpected meeting was only the beginning of a journey that would quietly reshape all of their lives. Over the following weeks, Alaric could not stop thinking about the determined little girl who smiled despite carrying burdens no child should ever know. He contacted the school, not to seek attention, but to anonymously establish a scholarship fund ensuring children from struggling families could participate in every school activity without financial worries. When the principal informed Celeste about the generous donation, she discovered the identity of the anonymous benefactor almost immediately. She hesitated for days before writing a handwritten thank you letter. It contained no requests, no expectations, only gratitude expressed by a mother who finally felt someone had seen her daughter's worth. Alaric treasured that letter more carefully than many awards displayed inside his corporate office. Soon afterward, he arranged for his company to sponsor the school's reading program, playground renovations, and after-school art classes. His executives initially believed these projects were simply public relations investments. Only Alaric understood the deeper reason. Every improvement reminded him of one lonely child standing beside a decorated wall believing nobody would choose her, and because of that memory, he decided that as long as he had the ability to help, fewer children would ever have to experience that same feeling again. To be continued in the next response with the conclusion of this single complete story.